North Carolina Supreme Court clearing the way for the GOP to gerrymander in the state? Yeah, that's right. Here is the headline from The Hill. NC Supreme Court overrules decision that struck down the existing voting maps. I know we're a little bit delayed on getting that headline there, but my God, I'm sure you can see it everywhere because the topic is trending on Twitter right now. And really what makes this ruling from the North Carolina High Court even more disturbing, it's really that the court is reversing its own recent decision. Not much has changed since the decision was issued, except for the makeup of the court as far as I'm concerned. But let's head to the Hill for more details. So the North Carolina Supreme Court on Friday overruled its previous decision that struck down the state's GOP-drawn voting maps, finding that claims of partisan gerrymandering are political questions that cannot be resolved by the state's courts. The 5-2 party line vote dismisses the underlying lawsuit that led to a sweeping election law clash at the US Supreme Court, allowing the justices to potentially sidestep the dispute. The state court is in separate rulings also reinstated laws that require voter ID and prohibit certain felons from voting, as in the black ones. But the court previous 4-3 Democratic majority had struck down the GOP-drawn map after Republicans regained control in an expensive midterm election campaign. Yeah, that's right. The party's new 5-2 majority granted a request from the GOP lawmakers to rehear the dispute, marking only the third time that the court did so in the past 3 decades. Yeah, so this decision clearly is a byproduct of North Carolina's newly formed GOP-leaning court, and it also effectively rejects judicial limits on partisan gerrymandering. And given that, as a result, this decision may play a huge role in the challenge to the independent state legislator theory, this whole doctrine that is currently being argued before the US Supreme Court, and the question of whether the Constitution gives the state lawmakers the authority to regulate federal elections within the state without any kind of checks and balances from the state court. This is all nonsense, but fortunately, we have a gentleman from North Carolina who will know this very intimately. Mondale, what you got?
Listen, Adrienne, I think this story is sad for a lot of reasons. This isn't just bad for North Carolina voters. This is a bad voter suppressing ruling for the entire country. This is gonna set a precedents that we have not seen, not just in 3 decades, but since black people were fighting for their right to vote at all. This is, basically the equivalent to telling black people, we will put you where we want you to vote, and your vote will be watered down because they'll be able to draw districts like the ones that are already in the state that reach from one part of North Carolina, the western part, all the way to the middle of the state, which is about a 2-hour drive. These voters, the reason we have districts is so voters can vote in blocks for things that are best for their community. In North Carolina, that is not the case. And the Supreme Court, the Republican Supreme Court, we should say, just made it so that it will be harder for black people to vote what's best for their community because they'll be watered down and put in districts that do not show or represent the power of black voters. And that to me is sad, not just in the state, but across this country.
Absolutely, and it's so, I don't know, it just makes me say this is why we don't really have a democracy. The thought is that every vote, it counts? No, because the system is set up and structured such that every vote doesn't count because that's the intention. The intention is to really fulfill the intentions of our founding fathers, which means wealthy white men get to vote and everyone else's vote gets watered down. It's just that some states are more aggressive with that approach than others, including North Carolina, as we're seeing now.